Welcome back to the BSDF1 podcast with your host, Josh George, my co-host, Josh Constant, and my two lovely guests as usual, Leo and Ryan. We're going to get straight into this one as we have just come off of the high of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, everyone. Good race, wasn't it? What do you reckon?
Very good, yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was up there. What do you reckon, Leo? Ryan, what do you think of the race?
Red Bull.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Sounds like you
So
guys need a
depressing.
fucking Red Bull, to be honest.
Nice and early. Imagine the FIA retrospectively changing something after the fact. Imagine the scenes. Ooh.
Well, do you know much
Anyway.
about what happened with that? Because I did a bit of digging this afternoon.
Oh, go on. Yeah, some
So-
spicy digging. Like that.
Basically, they saw that obviously the car was lifted, so they gave the penalty, a little bit like how they did with Ocon previous week. And then Aston Martin went away in that time period between the end of towards the end of the race and when we found out, obviously, until they went to the stewards room about it, they presented evidence that the front jack is used to navigate the car in and then hold it in position. And Aston Martin argued for the rear jack to do similar, which is to keep the car still and not be moved, but it's not lifting the car. And they argued that that has happened 7 or 8 times when a penalty has been applied and it's been reversed. And as a result, the FIA reversed their own ruling on it.
Oh,
So they're going to
interesting.
meet. Apparently, they're going to meet
it
this week
makes sense.
about it to change it, so it's only the front jack can be used during a issue like that. Apparently,
Listen, I didn't think that was the case. That's quite a good point, to be fair. I mean, he deserved that podium, nonetheless. Like, Aston Martin putting a bit of metal in the way didn't stop Alonso from storming all the way to the end, did it? So, yeah,
it just shows you though that
No,
the
so it's pretty
FIA's
good.
rules are unclear, because if you can show that other people have done it, and it says in the rules the front or the jacks can be used to navigate and hold a car still, then the rear jack is doing its job even during a penalty. So, there's no
Yeah.
other way of saying, yes, you touch the car, which is breaking the rules, and it's been found that it wasn't breaking the rules because the front jack is allowed, or the jack is allowed, which means the rule can be broken. Well, that one out, the FIA.
That's weird, though, isn't it? I mean, there's so many loopholes in Formula One. It's a bit weird, like how rules are still being broken like this. I mean, there's so much in there in Formula One that it's quite easy to, I guess, break a miniature rule like that. But yeah,
Well,
it
tell you what,
seems like the oversight is once
what
the
is
FIA
weird,
make
though-
decisions, just stay there.
What's weird, though, is that it's 2 race weekends in a row, similar penalties been applied. Something to do with the race box and then
Yes,
touching.
yeah,
We haven't had that kind of thing for
yeah.
not consistently either over 2 race weekends. It's like, really one-offs. It's a good
Yeah.
point.
It's pretty slam dunk, isn't it? I mean, either just make them bigger. The F1 cars are so big wheels, low to the ground. Back in 2008, when they're skinny little things, you'd be able to see those grid boxes. But now the halo, the wheels, the flappy bit over the wheel, I can't remember what that's called.
My thing is, though, does it matter? Does it matter ultimately that, like, Fernando Alonso was a touch to the left? Seeing Max literally point his car left in a grid box. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
you
like
can
putting a
can
circle
point,
in a
but
square.
you can't be over.
But that surely doesn't. It's not going to benefit him by
Because
being where
you
he
get
was.
advantage. Yeah. So Leo, what about your moment from the race? Anything interesting that you wanna add?
I mean, that fact that Josh said earlier about, or was it you, about how fast, was it 17 miles an hour? About the Red Bull on a straight.
17
It's pathetic.
with the DRS.
It's so stupid how fast that car is. Like, watching it against the, was it Russell? That was it. Watching it against Russell was just
disgusting.
stupid. And the fact that
Yeah.
like, his attitude's good. Like, Verstappen's attitude's good if he doesn't win and all that. But his attitude after him and his dad after the race is so embarrassing. Even during the press conference, well, I understand it's a good attitude to have. If you're not winning, then it's not good. But you were 15th. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what?
You're
Do you know?
15th and you've got the second.
Do you know what annoys me the most though is you get them people online that, like for example, Lewis. Yeah, if he's going on the radio and acting like that, everyone's on his case saying, Lulu the little whinger like they do, or not getting his way again.
As the can I say the favourite just quickly? Can I add the favourite tweet that I see is Crimelton?
Yeah,
like hashtag Crimelton. It cracks it every time I see it. Crimelton is like.
But then Max does it. Max does it, and probably like way, I don't know. It's probably on par with him, but it's the same thing, and he don't get any of that shit either. It's just like,
oh no, the Sky Sports commentators throughout the race was like, it's not like Max to lose his head during the race. I'm like,
what?
What?
What Verstappen have you been watching?
Yeah, those commentators were on something, harvesting lights.
He's desperate. He was desperate to get that in.
Yeah, he wanted to talk about harvesting lights.
We know they're not brake lights. When we know they're not brake lights,
Leo,
it was just the fact that they mentioned it.
You know they're not brake lights because you're a gatekeeper. People that don't know or join the sport this year don't know that. He's got cringe. He's even cringing. Oh my god! Cool. Of course they're not brake lights.
Yep.
No. But mention it once. They mentioned it. Martin Button mentioned it. They were talking about something totally different, and then Martin Button went. Anyway, more on the harvesting lights. They're not brake lights. I'm like, yeah, cool.
They don't actually. They don't know. The car behind doesn't know if the car in front is slowing down. Just so you're aware,
to be fair,
don't actually know.
Question.
It did crack me up. I do think it is funny.
Question. Do they need to show that the car's recharging?
It's a strategy thing.
Fair
do they
point.
need to show that?
I think it's also the rain light, because that does have the flash.
It's not
of the rain,
raining in
it?
Saudi.
It's never bloody raining in Saudi, unless they want to make it rain. But that's a different type of rain.
Do they need to show that?
Don't give Formula 1 ideas.
Do they need to show that, though? I don't think they do. They need to show car recharging.
I think
the rain light,
the reason they show it, because if it's a car recharging, it's going slower. But they obviously don't want to put brake lights on it. But I think that's what it is. Because the car's recharging, it's not going full pace like a car with obviously full charge. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why they flash.
But it's still rapid, though, isn't it?
Google search. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's still going to slaughter anything else in Formula 1.
That's what I mean. I don't see the harvesting brake lights as Leo's favourite thing needs to be included on a car. That's extra weight. You can just take it off. It's an extra light. Don't need it.
Yeah, LEDs, mate. Get them LEDs off. Yeah. Get them LEDs right out of there. But yeah, it's I think, definitely one of the things with why is there so much background noise going on, everyone? Jeez. It's so much background noise happening today. But yeah, so no, I think definitely some of the best moments were the overtakes, not from the Red Bulls, because they were literally, they weren't impressive overtakes at all. Max did nothing until he got DRS, and then suddenly he went from like 12th to fucking 5th.
Well, did you notice that he intentionally followed a car into sector 1 past the start finish every time? And to be fair, I get it, because if you're that car is that fast, you don't need to push someone into turn 1, for example. You just wait your turn. I get it, but surely he doesn't want to be known like that. This is Max. He wants to show his weight.
He don't care, does he?
He doesn't. He doesn't care. He's literally just he's playing the game on 27 AI, like someone said yesterday. It's just a bit embarrassing.
Yeah. Max, I feel like, has this thing at the moment where it's Red Bull have given him such a powerful car and nobody else has a powerful car. And it speaks volumes when the constructor that finished 7th last year is the second fastest car. It speaks volumes. So I think one of the biggest problems that we now have, Red Bull's pace is obviously there. No one is catching it at all. We're going to have a 2016 Mercedes on our hands where the championship fight is between two people, but is it really going to be a fight with Perez? Because as much as I think Perez was absolutely and is absolutely goated, I think he was absolutely goated. But the biggest problem is that you're going to have Max, who is, skyrocketing. He's just going to zoom past him. There's going to be no real battle, I don't think. I think,
well, I don't know about
Perez
that,
might pick up a couple of wins, but I don't think it's going to happen for him.
I don't know, because Checo did show real strong pace this weekend. Like, he kept a big gap between him and Max. And that was at a time where they
Big circuit merchant.
Big true. But I think he could give him a good run for his money. I don't know if he can actually do the Rosberg to Lewis type thing, because that takes a big ordeal. But he did get in his head this weekend. Like, seriously did.
Yeah, he was there. He was there.
So I don't know. I would like him to,
say,
but I'm not.
No, Perez. I really hope that it's going to give him motivation to be able to really push. Like, if he can get massive motivation to push, it's going to do a lot.
He's not on that same level as Verstappen, though. There's a gap between them, performance-wise.
Yeah.
How big do you reckon the gap is, though?
Massive. It's not like you look at Perez. There's nothing. Perez reminds me of. I think one of you said it. Like, it's Bottas 2018. One of you said that, and it is. It's true, because he's just not. He's nowhere near Verstappen.
No, yeah. I think technically in the car, I don't know. It depends, because if Max had secured P1 or 2, which is likely, when he was going to do a 127, actually, wasn't he, in the quali potentially?
Yeah, it would have been.
Probably. Yeah, he probably would have won yesterday, 100%.
Well, without a safety car, I mean, he would have still been second anyway.
Yeah.
No, I think Perez. I think he could have won yesterday. To be fair.
Who, Verstappen?
No, Perez. Sorry. If Verstappen was there on merit, I don't think Verstappen would have actually won. I think it would have been Perez. I think Perez just had something dialed in.
Street circuit
with that car, 100%. Yeah, street circuit merchant.
To be fair though, I know that Christian Horner says he was street circuit, but is he actually classed as street circuit because it's like a proper circuit? Street circuits are Singapore and Monaco.
Yeah,
this isn't really a street.
It counts, doesn't it?
It's just because
it kind of like.
It's like Canada, though, isn't it? Canada counts. I mean,
does it though? It's not even a street. It's just a circuit. It's a tight circuit.
It technically does count.
I don't like the way they do these. But can I talk about something about the safety car? Well, I wanted to get your guys' opinions, because I wrote a note literally as it happened, how suspect that looked during the race. Like, the car, Lance Stroll, even Brundle said it. Lance Stroll's car drove off, and he parked it perfectly to not get proper SC.
Well, you heard why they brought it out. Apparently, their GPS was showing it. Lance Stroll stopped on track. Now, how that's happened, I don't know. But apparently, the GPS showed he stopped on track, so he just called out a safety car, even though there was cameras showing it for about 2 minutes prior, showing he'd stopped off track.
That's what I mean. That just feels a little bit like suspect. Because it brings everybody closer. I can't see. There's literally no reason why you wouldn't do a VSC there either, because the car's not like stricken in the middle of the track, or it's not stuck in gravel. It's anyone can move.
Even just double wave yellows through there probably would have been fine.
Yeah, I don't personally understand the call. And it obviously there's only
this comes back to DTS.
Yeah,
DTS fans. Yeah,
DTS try and make drama.
Yeah. Well, this is why I wrote it down, because it's going to happen. Yeah, because that's how it looks though. That's how it looks, because Ferrari probably didn't time their safety car window as well as other people did, because some of them, like some people, did really time that well.
What a shocker!
Classic. But
yeah, Ferrari did absolutely nothing once again.
They get it spot on, especially for Max. And it just because he was a pit stop behind or something,
Yeah.
wasn't he? And all of a sudden he's now on top of everybody else again, and you're like, this is almost a bit too perfect.
There was
again.
There's a thing that I do quite a lot of the time where I'll watch when the safety car, like when there's a yellow flag somewhere on the track, and I wait and see how long it takes them to deploy the safety car. And I was watching and I said to my dad, I was like, 100% Hamilton comes past the pits and then they'll do it.
Mm.
And it did happen. Hamilton comes past the pits and then they threw the safety car out. And it's just like, it does seem like it's every single time. I mean, it always seems like that, right? When it was, the Hamilton domination era, it was always, Hamilton gets the safety car. Of course he does. Hamilton gets this, Hamilton gets that. And I think it's always just benefiting whoever's at the front, because the best driver in the best car will always come to the top.
But it didn't benefit. But it didn't benefit Perez though, because at the front is what I don't know if you mean Max just in general because he's going to win, or Perez because he's leading. But it didn't benefit Perez though. Perez had to fight to keep that 5-second gap and done a good job, and then his team tried to fuck him over as well.
Mate, what was that about though?
That's so
what the hell? Slow down. What's Verstappen doing faster than you?
The only thing I could think of there is that they were just trying to save him, but not keep him too close. But I mean, it was such a big. It was half a second or something like that difference. Yeah,
I can't understand that.
It was very.
But then Perez called him out. Perez finally called him out on it.
Yeah, but he knows.
I wonder if there will actually be stuff that comes from that.
Yeah. He must know.
It's going to be interesting to see if it all comes through and like what will actually happen with Red Bull going forward in races if Perez is actually just quicker.
Well, he's quicker.
It's going to be so much quicker.
He's not going to be quicker in general, but yeah, he does seem that, doesn't he? Monaco, Saudi, and all that. He just seems quicker. You are right when he was like, it was really weird. It was like hit, what was it, 33, and then also Max there. Max was doing a 32 something.
Yeah.
And Max had a suspected issue as well.
I think everyone had the same one.
Didn't he?
Oh, yeah, the down.
He said he had an issue.
And then they both proceed to go.
That was weird.
Same.
That was so strange.
That annoyed the shit out of me. They were all doing it, by the way. All the drivers were doing it.
Rundle said, like, this was obviously rehearsed because they were allowed to do it 3 times. So they used their kind of joker up.
That's what I said. I was like,
it shouldn't be allowed. If you're outside the white lines and you're going to benefit, which they clearly did there,
do you know,
that should be a straight-on penalty.
It's 100% agree. Like, if you do it on the F1 game, you got 5 seconds, like, instantly. Like, if you gain time and coming off the track, 5 seconds, bang. These drivers, if you said to these drivers, 1 chance, you come off the track and you gain, 2-second penalty immediately, none of them would do it. None of them would do it, and that's because it's the age old give them an inch and they take a mile. That is what they'll do. They will take that mile without even thinking about it. And I was just like, "There's no way."
But that goes back to what we were saying earlier on with the rules again, though, because like you couldn't go if you make a genuine mistake 3 times over, you then get a penalty. That ain't no mistake. That's deliberate. They've done that, and then Max has seen that Checo's done that and gone, well, if I don't do it, I'm going to lose time, so I've got to do that. And then did you say that every other driver was doing it as well?
Yeah. There was a part where you see Piastri do it.
Oh, oh yeah, he did, because that's how he catched up with Norris and then tried to get him into T1. Is that part? See, he benefited from it as well then. So
exactly them. Yeah.
The FIA have had a nightmare this weekend, haven't they?
Well, they've had a nightmare 2 years, haven't they? 3 years.
The FIA is just a joke.
Like Bahrain, they didn't have no problems in Bahrain. Well, except for Ocon, but that was Ocon's fault. This time, you had the Alonso stuff, the track limits, which when they came in, they were like, right, we're going to track limits are between the white lines. And then this weekend happened.
Yeah.
I mean, who got done for it? Was it Sargent in qualifying?
Yeah.
The really stupid rule of
turn 27.
Your car goes tiny. Like if you're touching that white line, it's a penalty.
Tell me if I'm wrong, though. You guys probably not clocked it as well. How many times? I even saw it on the helicopter cam. Checo went over that line. 100% he did.
Yeah, he did.
100% he did. I even pointed out, he definitely went over.
Again, same thing.
Nothing happened there.
But that's such a weird rule. I don't understand it. But then, obviously, Logan Sargent then finished 38 seconds behind. So technically, does that not count as disqualification from the actual race? Because there's like 107%.
Yeah, but that 107% rule literally hasn't existed in. It's just.
Yeah, it does. It still exists. They
I know
allow
it exists,
them to,
but
because they announced they said they're like,
but it's the same
let
as
him race anyway.
same as Verstappen. If it was that case, Verstappen didn't. Because what did he get? He got like a 1 minute.
He's got by
48.
Yeah. Oh,
So
I thought you were talking about like jumping from Formula 3 European or whatever to Formula 1.
well, and that. To be fair, he's an exception. There's so many rules that have been created for him
because of him.
because of him. And yeah, he's a class quality driver, but a class quality driver that really pushes the rules to the absolute limit, I think, is.
I got a good segue on the class
it's
and
a bit
quality,
of a.
by the way. It's like the opposite
go
of
on.
that, which is his dad, who in my note literally says is a bellend.
Yeah.
Which is my opinion, by the way. Yeah, it's not libelous. I just, like I was saying...
I don't even think it's an opinion. It's just a fact, isn't it? Like,
I'm just trying to protect.
It's.
I've been watching Suits. Don't want Harvey Specter coming.
No, there's no defamation. But no, there's no. He's a bellend. There is no two ways about it. The man's like how you're standing. It's the second race, and like talk about Crimelton is like this guy shreds tears if his son isn't in first place.
Yeah.
Like, imagine when Red Bull deliver him a crap car. Like Jos is probably just going to kill someone. Like it'll just go over to the engineers and start ending lives. Like there's slamming heads against mantelpieces again.
I was thinking about saying something, but I was not going to bother then.
No, I thought I'd say I can't stand him. He needs to be banned from the track. I said he needs to be. Do not give him a platform. Do you know what's annoying me? Is that is a childish and pathetic way to act. But all of these like media outlets are being like, oh my god, put a meme to this. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Isn't this like when you wake up in the morning and there's no coffee or something? I'm like, what is this? Like, this is it's pathetic. Like the man is blatantly being toxic.
All you got to do is look at Hamilton's dad in Abu Dhabi 2021.
Well,
yeah, but specifically Hamilton's dad in 2021 Abu Dhabi, where it was a robbery, and he still went up, hugged them both. So
true. That wouldn't happen.
But you lose a race to your teammate.
Yep.
No, it's just it's ridiculous.
But,
I mean, he didn't.
It's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing.
But did you see?
I mean, look at when it was
the Verstappen shaggers on all social media platforms are now turning on Checo, and it's sort of like artistic, and it's really nice to watch. And it's not. It's one of their own, and it's
They're like,
quite intense.
Checo lying. He knew. He was told to push, and he's a liar. It's like, shut up, you're 12.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. I said, apart from Verstappen's, like, personal antics of just being a bit of a knob on a lot of occasions, I don't have a problem with him.
Tell me this,
the fans are...
2 weeks ago, didn't you? Before the start of the season, you said you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and try and follow him as a racer rather than his attitude. And it's 2 races in, and what you said earlier on, you've gone back on that. And it just shows...
Yeah. It's because he can't... He literally can't even try to just be a decent person. Like, it's what I don't get. It's like...
Can you explain to the listeners
at the end of the season, he was trying
to do, and then this bit?
Yeah, so basically, because of last season and things like Brazil, and then the season past that with how he was just in general, and then just how he is all the time, I was like, I want to take away the like personal dislike to Max Verstappen, and I want to just go, look, he's a racing driver. I'm just going to try and watch him as a racing driver. And I've been trying to do that when it's like, because I want to like celebrate a win for anybody, right? And I think we're watching history unfold, you know, just like people in 2004, 5 and 6 are watching Alonso beat Michael Schumacher, right? We're watching history unfold with things. And we want to be a part of that and not remember it in like this hatred. But I think the hardest thing is, although Alonso, and I'm going to use this as a bit of a bridge, although Alonso had this like proper hardcore racer, young kind of persona to him, he wasn't just a a bell end all the time, to where Verstappen is probably the most entitled driver I think I've seen. And I'd like to hear everyone's comments about this below, because I'll be prepared to just absolutely get my ass handed to me.
Comments below.
I think it's the comments below. We all love the comments below. But it's that Verstappen is entitled, and he's just clearly shown he's entitled by thinking that he only deserves P1. Like, sorry, mate, people are faster than you sometimes. Bottas would beat Hamilton every now and again. You know, and Hamilton's not sitting there going, I deserve to be P1 all the time. This is stupid. Why didn't you just let me past? You know, it's like, but Verstappen is generally believing, I think he would love Formula One with one car, and it's just his car, and he drives around a track 70 times and then picks up a trophy at the end. Like, that's what I
mean, that's what Formula One is.
basically
anyway,
is
so,
it actually generally actual true.
I'll be honest with you. I disagree with you.
I'm glad someone does
don't
one.
think
It's always
he's
me.
entitled. I actually, controversially, I really like him. I like his attitude most of the time.
Yeah.
Generally because it's a good, you know, he wants to win all the time. And obviously, yeah, the way he comes out. But I think, in a way, Hamilton was like you know, tyres, for example. I've never known one man who will say, oh, yeah, my tyres are dead, and then do like 150 laps on them.
Yeah.
So I think if you put it into perspective, I think all drivers who are used to fighting at front are like that. And Verstappen's obviously used to not even fighting at front, just being in front. So I don't think he's entitled. I like the attitude of, you know, being first and all that. I think it's the way he comes across. He's not really well media trained, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him in the press conference the other day, yesterday, where he just was.
I don't think
like,
I don't think it's
genuinely
media
looked like.
training.
I thought he looked like.
I don't think it's media training. He's just very black and white, and he will literally tell you what he's thinking. It's like that. It's like that thing Josh said with Ryan and his spaghetti. He literally like dumps his can of soup out and goes, "I'm going to say exactly what I see here," and that's where he gets caught all the time. But the issue that Max has, he's become very polarizing between different sets of fans. Not even the Lewis shaggers, which I'm a part of, and the Max shaggers, which is what Leo is apparently now doing. He's polarizing He's polarizing even fans who don't really care about either of those. Like, for example, your dad, Josh, he's probably just a simple McLaren fan or just a fan of racing. He probably can't stand him. And there's going to be other people that are going to be exactly like that. Like my mum, who hates the Formula One, won't stop talking about how much of a dick Verstappen is, but has only ever seen Abu Dhabi 21 because it was on terrestrial TV that one time. Like, she tells me about Verstappen all the time. That, you know, she doesn't know enough to even have an opinion. She doesn't even watch DTS. It's muppet. But
yeah, go watch DTS, then you'll actually figure it all out.
Go on, Mum.
You'll know it all.
Oh, no.
Go watch DTS, and then she get invited to like the Pit Stop podcast, so they can all talk about not knowing anything.
Nonsense. But do you see what I mean? There's even a polarizing camp between them, like that kind of Formula One fan. You either like him or you dislike him, and if you're caught in the middle, like I don't think they exist. I don't think there's a person that says, "Oh, I like Max because I like him as a person," or "I like him because of the way he races." It's I can appreciate his racing and his racecraft.
Because Twitter tells you can't do that.
No, but I don't go on Twitter now because it's a bit.
He's Marmite, isn't he?
Yeah, he's literally Marmite. But then Sebastian Vettel was exactly the same back then, but nowhere near as bad. Everyone could say when he did that finger, everyone was going fuck him, because everyone saw Jenson Button as a good guy. Lewis had his traits of like being a knob in the media and like flashy and a little bit arrogant. But I think that was maybe 2010 being 2010. Seb was just classic racing driver, wanted to be at the front. You know, the multi 23 thing. I think it is. Is that right?
21.
Close.
Yeah, 21.
21. But
21,
like,
nearly there.
That made him look like a knob as well, but he was doing it because he wanted to like dominate. Max is doing it in a completely different way.
Yeah.
He's just being... if he doesn't get his way with Checo, you can see Checo losing his seat to Daniel Ricciardo, and because Daniel Ricciardo needs a way back into the sport, he will do anything to lick Christian's ass to get back in that chair. And that's where you can.
Yeah,
that's how it's going to work
100%.
for Checo.
And you can see it happening.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you can see it happening. The team orders just feel disgusting with them at the moment. It feels
even though
absolutely.
they say, even though they say, oh yeah, we let our drivers race. We both know if they're racing to the front, and there is we see that Checo needs to win, they're going to swap. We know that. Look at Brazil.
And you know what's perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about, which you two are going to get so upset. Oh, you're both going to get so upset, what I'm about to say. It is not the whole George Russell, Lewis Hamilton thing, right? Now, George understandably thought there was a penalty in place, all this sort of nonsense. But he didn't let Lewis pass, and everyone was screaming about it. And then Lewis couldn't catch him anyway. And I'm like, well, if you've got the pace, Mercedes came out and said they were conserving tyres too much. If he had the pace to drive that car faster, then Lewis doesn't deserve to be in front of him. Much like Perez and Max, catch me if you can. You know, if you want to overtake me, overtake me. I'm not just going to let you pass so you ruin my race. And lo and behold, if George went behind Lewis and Lewis was dog for about 4 or 5 laps, and then that penalty that was put on, taken off, put on and taken off again, he may never have got, as an example, a podium or something like that. But he didn't in the end anyway, but long story. But I think Lewis is in a really weird place where he moaned about George having a better setup, even though the driver makes the setup. So you kind of bottled it on that one. And then he just wasn't quick enough. And I think a lot of the time, this weekend, and I hope whatever Lewis has done by parting with Andrew and all this sort of stuff, because he definitely doesn't want to talk about it when he was pressed for a question about why, because I didn't realise Lewis told Angela to leave.
Did not know that.
It was, Angela. Yeah, if you go online,
do you know what?
I
did think it was weird because me and Sarah were talking about it, saying that it was, if you're going to leave a job like that, you would either leave at the end of the season and have it planned, or you'd leave last year. Not one race in. That feels a bit weird, but that makes sense now.
Yeah, and a lot of the reports that I've heard is he asked her to leave, and then there was a reporter that actually said to Lewis afterwards, it was a really quick clip, where when any reason on why you got Angela to leave, and he was like, I'm not talking about it, and then just walked off. And I was like, and everyone's like getting wet about, this is the Hamilton I want to see, the 2017 Hamilton, all this sort of stuff.
Everyone's getting wet.
Oh, everyone's getting
So
proper wet.
can I
about it.
ask you a question though?
Down,
what was the upset a bit about you were saying then?
Oh no, I was quite happy that you both just agreed. Hamilton just wasn't on Russell's pace
Yeah,
and didn't deserve to pass him.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but Hamilton. So just quickly, Hamilton just keeps going. Oh, the car doesn't suit me.
Yeah,
the car doesn't suit me. The car. It's a bit. He just seems like he's given up.
Mhm.
Like he did it last year and went, "Oh, the car doesn't suit me." The car doesn't. Yeah, we get that. It's a shit car. You're gonna have to get on with it. But it's just always like, the car doesn't suit me.
I've got
Russell's doing something.
Yeah.
So
I've got a point for that, I guess, as well. Not trying to keep my look. I'm going to take the biasy cap off, hopefully. I think that we know Saudi is a bit more of one of those like Monaco tracks where you have to like be in love with the car almost. Probably. Like you can't commit.
Yeah, they can't do high speed corners.
You can't commit.
We know that.
And Josh, you said it last week, right? You said Lewis doesn't feel comfortable in a car, that he's not quite, I don't know how you phrased it last week, but it's more or less that kind of like, if he's not in love with it, he's not going to feel it kind of thing. I think that he's put himself in a mindset where it's negative. Then this thing with Angela's come out, and I hope we find out more information, like actual news about it, because it is quite a big thing. Like there was a lot of people talking about it, probably more so than.
It's weird. It's very weird.
It's very weird, and considering how close they was, and she carried his water bottle around and all that, and the scooter which he had to carry around on himself now, but I don't know.
She was more. She was more than just a trainer to him, which is why I think there was a bit of a thing going on.
Is he getting back with Nicole?
Something in the background, something in the scenes.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? That'd be
Yeah.
hilarious.
I don't think this was Lewis's best class act this weekend. He just seemed off.
Yeah,
It.
agree.
I don't know what it. But like for example, the first thing I saw this before the race started that he was on hard tires. Why is he on hard tires?
What a stupid idea.
Yeah.
On a track that, yes, we haven't had a lot of races, but has a 100% safety car rate.
My point, exactly.
And he's on hards. What are you doing?
But my thing with this is, Mercedes wouldn't have done that on their own. They're like strategically, they would have run the simulations. Then they would have said probably soft or more than likely medium to start, or soft if you're going to be like Charles and want to get through the field, which made sense. Starting on a hard to finish on a medium, when the entire 20 cars are doing the complete opposite to you, doesn't really make sense. And Lewis said that the hards were a really shit tyre to begin with. Yeah, it makes sense because the other cars were on mediums, and then when the hards went on later on when the track was rubbered in, it was a good tyre. So, but that doesn't make that feels like a Lewis thing to do, but it completely backfired. Even though he hates the car at the moment and he's got like a negative mindset, I don't know what's going on with him, but I don't think that this is definitely not his finest weekend he's ever had. And
no, 100%. I agree with that. I do agree with that. But I think with the mindset thing, because he did it last year as well, and when Lewis comes into his own, there's no better driver, and when he's focused, no better driver. But I don't know. He just seems to keep saying about how doesn't suit him, doesn't like the car and all that, and we all can see that the car's shit again until hopefully this miracle
this
package
what I can't understand
about, which comes in,
because their car was as good as the Red Bull last year towards the end of the year. In Brazil, that car was in Brazil, that car was slightly.
It was better than the Ferrari.
But it was getting there, right? And how they can go into the new year and go even further backwards with a slightly improved car, or maybe it's skewed because Red Bull was so far ahead.
Don't forget about Abu Dhabi last year, though.
Feels like it, though.
Abu Dhabi last year was a humbling for Mercedes. You got to remember Abu Dhabi last year; they finished 30 seconds off the lead with.
Well, Hamilton retired, didn't it?
Yeah, it was their first retirement, so first Mercedes retirement. But the
my
Mercedes
point was that
not quick in Abu Dhabi.
The last 6 races they had, they were better than the first 6 they had.
Better.
And you would assume that they were taking that good design philosophy or energy into the next season. And it just feels like they've not learnt from any of the mistakes they had last year and carried on. And especially Lewis, because this time last year was a little bit different. Yes, the car was shit, but no one was saying, Lewis, are you staying at Mercedes this year? Are you going to make it through this year? The whole thing before this race, I watched all the press conferences, drivers and team principals and all the other ones they do separately outside of the F1 stuff. Everything directed at Lewis and Toto all ended up with, are you staying at Mercedes at the end of the year if their car is bad? There's something going on there as well. I don't think there's definitely some conversations going on. Negative ones.
You're going to say what Toto said?
It's so strange.
Yeah, Toto went, if the car's not good enough, he can leave. So, unless there's a bit of a rift there, kind of, because he's saying all these other comments about, he can leave or, we need to create the best car for him or whatever. There's a lot going on, clearly, that we don't know. You got the stuff with that, with Angela.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Toto Wolff making these comments and all that. But Mercedes, I think Mercedes are very stubborn in their ways of a concept has to work as well.
Leo, are you saying the Germans are very stubborn?
I'm saying Mercedes are very stubborn.
Very politically correct.
They're low rake and all that, all worked and all that. So this had to work, and this is why they've carried it on to the season. And I don't think they've gone backwards. They just haven't gone forward. And then you've got the likes of Ferrari I don't know what Ferrari have done. Red Bull have gone. And then you've got Aston Martin. You know what I mean? That money was going to work sometime.
Do you know what when I was listening to Toto this weekend after the race, it's not the pre-race stuff, he said that they're looking at a design philosophy in the next couple of weeks, which we know there's quite a lot of noise about that. Toto Sky Sports made a bit of a joke about, well, if Red Bull's car works, that's the car to go with. And then Toto said, if Red Bull designed the London bus and slapped a Red Bull badge on it, and it works, we'd have to copy the London bus. So I'm getting the impression that there's some internal discussions in
They're a
Mercedes.
little bit upset about it.
They're a little bit, yeah. I think they're upset they haven't got there first, and their design is a pile of shit. And they're sort of going, we actually need to be humble because we didn't get it right, and we have to sort of emulate
Yeah.
the rival.
No, I agree with that. I think
what's
one of
got
the
our own engine, own back end, and own everything else, and use our wind tunnel, and they're close to the Red Bull. I think it's about time to consider the Mercedes.
I think it's quite a nice thing for Mercedes to actually have, like you said, that humbling. This is, Red Bull came into the sport in the mid-2000s, early 2000s, mid-2000s, whenever. They came into the sport. All right, no, calm down. But, they came into the sport mid-2000s. They had a lot of mediocre, backfield mediocre, caught up, smashed four championships out of the bag. Then it was Mercedes' turn. They came into the game. They were slow, didn't really do anything. Smashed 8 World Constructors' Championships out of the bag. And then Mercedes have dropped the ball again, and Red Bull have picked the ball back up. And it seems like no other team has been able to have this magic juice that Red Bull and Mercedes produce. But when they seem to fall off, because they're this really young, Ferrari are like, well done, you've dominated this era. But, we had domination in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and very similar to McLaren and very similar to Williams. Where it's like, yeah, you might be dominating now, but we dominated 60, 50, 40, 30 years ago. And it's kind of like, I look at Williams, I look at McLaren, I look at Ferrari, much like they've got that, like, the teething problems, but Red Bull and Mercedes are still very young teams. And I think there's a bit of a weird kind of like thing that goes on with that.
I'm glad you brought up McLaren, because I think that's actually a massive culture problem they've got there, rather than just the race team. You've brought it up a couple of times where they diversify too much, which I completely agree with. Like, they've got all the too many other racing championships they're in. But you can't expect to be where McLaren have been in the past and then expect to be Aston Martin, but completely focus your resource and everything else in a completely different direction. Like, you either are Lawrence Stroll banging it in to be in Formula One, be the best you can be, or you're sort of milling around doing 20% Formula One, doing 20% whatever it is, 30% on road cars. Like, it's not working at McLaren. And I know they had a bit of a dog weekend, and it's not the race team's fault, but there's definitely something underlying more than just the lack of a wind tunnel going on. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it on social media. They did basically what Mercedes had done the previous week, but with Seidel, and it looked like he had been held up at gunpoint, trying to make a social media video saying how bad our weekend was and how well they're going to try and recuperate from it. Did you see that?
Oh, is that the new guy? Because it's not Seidel anymore, is it?
No, not Seidel.
Andreas Stella.
That's it. Stella, sorry, yes. Yeah, that video. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, I didn't see it, but it's what happens when you put like an engineer in front of a camera. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, team principal, you can kind of get away with, and a driver, but engineers sit in garages.
And it just didn't. This doesn't look
that
good.
is. You don't openly come out and say sorry to all of our fans that we are really crap. You're right. It's embarrassing. It doesn't make McLaren look good. It needs to be McLaren just coming out as like, that is where we are, and they seem to be great at dropping the ball hard when they get close to the top again.
Yeah, but the only serious part of that team at the moment is Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yep.
Lando Norris is exactly the same as McLaren as a whole. He's got his, he's dipping his hand on everything, whilst Piastri's primarily focused on Formula One. And I mean, like, obviously this weekend, Piastri had a better weekend than Norris. Norris qualified 19th.
Yeah.
Got it right.
Somewhere at the back.
And then it's 19th, and then the person behind him didn't even set a time. And then Piastri qualify. I can't remember. Piastri qualified.
8.
He went
On
through
nine.
He got
2-3,
into Q.
So he did well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the
You know
only
what I mean?
issue with
So,
Piastri, he
Piastri's-
needs one really good solid weekend, and I think it will settle them nerves because he, like Brundle was saying mid-race, it's sort of like he didn't push into enough corners or like force himself in there, and that's probably why he got the damage into the. Is it turn 2 or what 1 to 2? Like that part.
Yeah, it's that early one.
It's almost like he didn't have enough.
He got squeezed into the wall, didn't he?
Yeah,
which was a
it's almost
shame.
like a
Yeah,
lack of
Zamplate.
confidence, which makes sense because it's a big year for him, and he kind of just needs that.
Imagine when he gets his confidence, though.
Oh no, I'm not going to comment because I'm uneducated on Piastri.
No, he's a Piastri hater.
Yeah,
I'm a Norris
Piastri
hater.
hater, mate.
I'm a Norris
Terrible.
hater, actually.
Yeah.
Does Piastri finish above Norris this season?
Technically, so
No.
far, yes.
I've already said that. No, he doesn't.
His name's higher on the
'Cause-
zero charts.
And if he does, does
completed.
that mean anything to Norris or?
It means he needs to pull his finger out of his arse. He needs to stop. Well, I was looking at it, right? People were going crazy about Lando Norris doing like 2 Twitch streams before he went to like fly away. And he's just fucking around on Twitch, right? And I'm like, okay, you fair dues. But I wonder what Piastri was doing at that point. Probably either at McLaren or at the simulator or doing something racing related whilst Lando's sitting there playing COD with people online. I'm like,
He's not focused.
it
doesn't seem like he's focused.
It's like after when Lando lost the race in Sochi in 2021, it's kind of like everything in his world just kind of crumbled, and you haven't seen him at that pace ever again. Like the fact that he was driving on the same par as the Red Bull and the Mercedes of Verstappen and Hamilton, and he was beating them both in that car. You're like, where's he gone? Where's that Lando Norris gone? It just seems like he's checked out, and he just plays on Twitch and does his little YouTube stuff, which if you want to do that, fair, but don't take up a seat from somebody else who might want to be a bit more serious. And
Well, he's clearly talented enough. It's just
very much
his
so.
mindset. I don't think he's got the right mindset. He's one of those who's naturally talented, but so is Max. And I look at Max running away. I know he can't do it in the McLaren, but I think the worst mistake he did was sign an extension with McLaren. I think that's the worst thing he could have done because McLaren will never get rid of him, no matter how bad. If he does get,
Well, it just shows you though.
look at what happens.
I'd say it just shows you that there's definitely something not good going on in McLaren's contract or legal department because they clearly don't get things right because they don't put in an exit clause for Daniel Ricciardo outside of however much money it's going to take. They overextend on Lando Norris, which could bite them as well as him, and there's no exit clause for them either. And look how they dealt with the Oscar Piastri thing, and they just probably put him on quite a wedge as well to get him outside of the legal dispute. It's not clever, is it, over there? Surely.
No, there's a lot going on at McLaren that needs to be. I think they need to have a drastic reshuffling of everything. You know, when Ron Dennis got the boot, it kind of like stabilized a little bit, even though they were going downhill at that point anyway. And then everyone was quite motivated about it, and now it seems like it's just fallen apart again.
Well, do you know,
it's like this McLaren dream is going the same way as the Ferrari dream.
Someone made a comment, it might have been last night. I think it might have been Ryan. McLaren's almost like the Twitch team of the grid. It's sort of like a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
And
I call them the YouTube team.
Yeah, it was you
team,
then, yesterday.
Yeah.
But it genuinely does look like that. They do look like 2 YouTubers who are there to race. It's almost like their team isn't as serious as the rest of them. Look at Williams as well this year.
They'll start doing a podcast mid-race.
Yeah, they pull over to start their podcast.
But you think
to the
of
half-race show.
Yeah. But you think of like Williams, right? They were the joke of the field since probably Maldonado in Spain. It's been a joke ever since then. Last year...
No, 2017, 2016.
2019. No, 19.
Russell
18, 19.
was Russell winning 18? Or was it still...
19.
Yeah, but what I mean is
20.
the time frame between
Maldonado.
Maldonado at Barcelona and then until George Russell done bits in Spa in the rain. Up until that point, they were the joke. and
No,
they
you're
had a really
forgetting,
good 2014,
you're forgetting
15.
Bottas and Stroll. They're both gatekeeping, you know.
But Massa.
And Massa.
they were the
Stroll with
complete
his
joke
podium
team.
at Baku, though.
But they are the complete joke team,
The
right?
2014 Williams
Missed
was
the point.
different.
They were the complete joke team.
Between
Now-
19 and 21, they were a joke team, yeah.
Mm.
No, they're longer than that, 100%.
Maybe 22.
But my
No.
point is that
No,
McLaren...
trust me, they were P5
Doesn't matter anyway.
2018,
The point is
P3 2017.
the point is that Williams have now taken more steps forward, where McLaren has taken 6 steps backwards with their driver lineup, the way they deal with things. We were saying off air about Zach Brown. Do we think he's a decent bloke? Yeah, but is there something going on there as well? Because his focus is clearly on like IndyCar and other things in America.
His money. His focus is on money. The man
Maybe
gets
it's true.
sponsors at his arsehole.
Maybe it's true, but it's definitely not working at the race team for Formula One because it's just not, the results aren't there, and the results weren't there last year either. And they are becoming the joke team now because Williams aren't that anymore. They're doing all right, and since they got rid of
Haas.
Latifi
In fact, it's
and Haas, yeah, good point,
Haas.
and Haas.
yeah,
But I wouldn't say Haas are a joke
yeah.
team
If you think
anymore.
back,
Tell you what, though,
Haas
No, they're
looks
not.
I'll
stable.
tell you what, we saw the McLaren on board for about a lap or nearly a lap, and I was like looking at the electronic sponsors they had,
yeah,
and they don't change. Like they didn't change; it was still on like Chrome or whatever it was, and it just didn't change.
This is a gimmick.
It goes back to
What's the
gimmicks,
point?
though.
It is a
Gimmicks.
weird gimmick.
That's their team, it's gimmicky.
yeah.
Hmm.
And do you know what? Here's a reference that I think only, some I think people get when old school Top Gear used to be obviously a lot more on the BBC and stuff. I remember Jeremy Clarkson, every time he drove a McLaren, always used to amp the McLaren up like it was this fucking spaceship from another like world. I remember he always used to get in the car and he'd be like, the geniuses of McLaren have sorted out this ridiculous device that turns the drift off, and and he was going mad. Every single time I remember McLaren being on Top Gear, it was always like, this car is insane. They designed this car like crazy. And McLaren had that aura of whatever they touched turned not to gold to an extent, but whatever they touched was amazing. Before the McLaren downfall in 2000, and we could probably say 13, maybe 9, but they did crawl back. But 13, 14, before then, if you want to talk about eras, McLaren didn't have a downfall full stop before 2014. They were always up for a championship at some point, even all the way back.
2012 and the 2012 and 13 was a bit.
But there were still race winners in there, right? They're still up there. I'm not talking
13.
about a
13 was when they started downfall.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Those years, 12, 13, 14. But prior to that, there was no such thing as McLaren being garbage. McLaren were always the team that could bang a winning if they get their setup right.
But that's Ron
in
Dennis.
any
though.
single year.
That's Ron Dennis. That's his drive.
Yeah.
And
The team was so much. He made Lewis and Fernando shave their head. He was a serious contender. But yeah, I think there's something that team needs to be rooted out because they cannot seem to develop a car.
Question then,
again.
do we think, because the world and his mum thinks it's Zach Brown, do we believe the same? Do we think it's Zach? A lot of people online.
Do you know what? In all honesty, do you know what I think it is?
Go on.
I think it's McLaren.
What, like Ferrari?
I don't think it's one person.
World, yeah.
The brand has kind of like gotten a little bit too ahead of itself, and yet it's like Ferrari a clown show all the time, clown fiesta. But McLaren are kind of on that same trajectory where it's like, but they get a free pass for some reason, but they just look like anytime they do something, even like, and this isn't just throwing shade at McLaren, but for some reason, even their mechanics look like they're all 12. Like they don't look like they're.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I mean, all you got to do is go back to their car reveal and look how that went.
Yeah.
Just Twitch streamers or YouTubers and all that revealing a Formula One car. Like, not that that's a problem, but you know
Shows the
exactly where
audience.
they're going with it. Yeah, the audience, that's it, perfect. Yeah, you know what they're aiming for, because when you've got the YouTube, I can't remember who it was,
Vicstar.
they were aiming for that Twitch or stream or whatever he does.
But my
that
my
audience.
question is, right, Leo, you're a bit younger than me and Josh. And Josh, you are a Twitch and you watch all these streams and you're a bit of a gamer yourself as well. That is your target market, and you guys can see through it. So it's almost like a 45-year-old has gone, let me think between the ages of 14 and 30, who can I try and appeal and do a completely shit job of it because I'm trying to make it work. That's what they're doing. And the only reason they're getting away with it because they have
it's like
Lando
your mum
Norris.
downloads TikTok.
Yeah, kind of. But it's also Lando Norris is young enough to be followed in that way, and Oscar Piastri doesn't. He's kind of just young anyway, so people will follow him. The younger generation of fans. But Lando is that type of person who's like almost probably obliged to go on to streams because they know that they will win fans that way to sell merch, which is probably what they're trying to do with all of this kind of shit. It's all like it's literally merch, or sell this and sell that to get their sponsors on something like that gimmicky Chrome thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
but again that goes back to Zach Brown, like he's good with money. So I don't know.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing to make a buck, but can he run a Formula One team? Doesn't look like it. It looked like it in 2021, but they just seem to be falling off. And maybe with the departure of Carlos Sainz having that little bit older head in there, but Ricciardo clearly couldn't.
Yeah, I was going to say they had Ricciardo for 2 years, and
so
he couldn't do it. But then maybe Daniel Ricciardo is quite well known to be a young person in an old person's body at the moment. So maybe that was the wrong kind. Yeah. Maybe you need like a Fernando Alonso or Sebastian Vettel or even a Max at this point, that's so focused on your racing and nothing other than like all the gimmicky shit around it. Because that's why they got. Maybe that's why Red Bull got Daniel Ricciardo in, because he's got to do them running videos in different shoes.
Got to look like a bit of a clown for the TikTok fans.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah, I agree. But no, we're basically coming up on time now. That was that kind of shot by those discussions. There was a lot to talk about, even though it feels like there wasn't really a lot that happened in the race. There's got a lot to talk about.
Do we feel like the race was boring? By the way,
yeah.
Because a lot of people were criticising this track for being boring, and I disagree completely. But just wanted to check you.
They're more misplaced.
DTS
delusion.
Fans. They wanted to get 2021 Saudi back.
DTS fan.
Yeah. Just wanted to clarify.
Why were there no crashes? Why was there no explosions?
That's actually a good point, though.
I mean, to be fair, why were there no explosions?
Saudi, for once, didn't have any serious accidents, which we don't want to see anyway.
It's because Verstappen didn't send it down the inside. He actually was concerned about his overtake.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Well done, Leo.
And Verstappen sends it into the oil rig outside again.
That's because Verstappen checked everyone's brake lights. That's the reason.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He overheard Martin Brundle and he was like, thank God.
Yeah. Wait, they're not brake lights?
On that bombshell.
They're not brake lights. No way.
On that
Thank you,
light.
everybody, once again for listening. On the brake light, we'll now be breaking the podcast. No, that's thank you very again for listening. As always, we literally just rambled for the last hour about the race. So I didn't get to do any reads or anything like that at all. But please remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, notification on all of the platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of that good stuff. Tune in next week for a little bit more of a light-hearted discussion. Obviously, it's a non-race week, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's Australia next. Yeah. 2 weeks' time. So we'll be back with a race review in 2 weeks, but next week will be a little bit more light-hearted, bit of fun and games, and hopefully Ryan's microphone or both camera and microphone combination will actually work. So again, thank you everybody for listening. That is a goodbye from me. And we will see you. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Have a good week. Take care, everybody.
See ya.